Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News, and we are here on Sunday, August 24th, 11:18 a.m., sunny Florida. And since it's a light day, we figured we would do what we are going to start doing and have done in the past, is bust some silly myths that you're seeing on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. These are out of California, I'm pretty sure, and will play as such. We have two of them, and two's enough, right? There's enough lying going out of Gavin Newsom's mouth to cover millions of people. So the claim that you'll see in the videos, and they never say it's the guy who shows the video because he's a veteran of some type, of somebody, of some army, and they're just discussing the fact that the ICE, the United States government under Donald Trump, the evil Donald Trump, is spending billions of dollars deporting harmless people into their own countries because they've never broken a law or anything of that nature. In the meantime, veterans are homeless. So they have that going on there. So we figured we'd look into it because we know that even with the very most superficial, we know that that wasn't true and that the documents already had come through months before. But since the average TikToker or Instagrammer or whatever may not have been aware of it, when you see them and wish to strike them with an open hand on the side of the head, instead of doing that and getting yourself in trouble, you can just use this as your mantra when we're talking about President Trump is ignoring homeless veterans, wasting millions on ICE, which is the reality is this. In May of 2025, Trump signed an executive order establishing the National Center for Warrior Independence on the VA's West Los Angeles campus. This project is designed to house up to 6,000 homeless veterans by 2028, with resources redirected from migrant services programs. That's probably where they get their faction from. The administration also expanded VA housing initiatives, including reforms to the VA home loan program, which had been signed in July of 2025, and additional funding for VA grant and per diem programs that directly support housing and rehabilitation services. Meanwhile, veterans' homelessness is actually declining nationwide, down 8% from 2023 to 2024, thanks to the VA and HUD efforts under both prior and current programs. The disinformation, as we said, is by framing immigration enforcement costs as a direct trade-off with veterans housing, activists create a false zero-sum game. And it was never that. It's just it's easy to say that kind of stuff because it throws you off. In reality, the funding streams are distinct. They come from different locations and have already been allocated. And Trump's record shows active new commitments to veteran housing, not abandonment. We're not even going to look into what occurred during the Biden administration. We're just talking about what has occurred now because, as far as socialism is concerned, everything was the Garden of Eden until the evil Trumpler showed up. So that's where you are on that. Now, is there going to be more issues at the VA? There is going to be more and more talk as they try to work with the issue of drug addiction, mental health, things of that nature. These are all ongoing things, and these are after effects of the longest war the United States has ever been involved in. So to say that somebody has a quick, easy answer to this is to lie to the American public. However, homeless veterans is something that we can handle, and it is being handled as best as it can at the moment. There are things that still have to be done to change that, but at the moment, yes, things are being done. You can laugh off that one about the ICE agents. Myth number two, which is my favorite one. So I actually went and did a little bit on this one. Trump is painting the wrong side of the border wall black. I think that was on a failed comedy show that's on network television, and it's been on a few other things. And their thing is, if he was so smart, he's painting one side of the wall black to make it hotter so that the Mexicans won't touch it, but they're putting the paint on the wrong side. That is not true. The photograph is very good and it shows you the wrong side. However, these were test sites because the entire wall is going to be painted black. In August, which is now 2025, DHS confirmed that the entire southern border wall is being painted black at Trump's direction. The goal is security driven. Black paint absorbs heat, making the wall more difficult to scale and helps to show rust for later maintenance. This is not just we're going to build this thing. It costs a lot of money. We'd like to maintain it. So the estimated cost is around 1.2 million per mile, which is roughly $500 million total. Funding as part of the 46 plus billion dollar allocated in Trump's border security legislation. The wrong side claim, as we said, is just that. It was a good photograph. They ran with it, and a bunch of dummies went along with it. 99.9% of them being the socialists that dominate Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. For Mr. Facebook, Instagram, I don't even want to mention his name because he's such a piece of shit. And he came to the United States government hat in hand crying that he was forced to be a socialist. Well, my God, he is really, really working to be a socialist, even though nobody's forcing him to do it. Republican versus socialist postings on Instagram and Facebook are probably 75-3. And I've deleted tons of them. I block accounts and things like that, and they come back. So who's kidding who about what, right? So obviously, this thing about the wrong side is there. However, in some of the videos, they say, well, the Mexicans are above us because they are. We know the Mexicans are above us. And they are beautifying the entirety of the wall with lovely murals and bullshit like that, right? Well, the mural they show you, which is interesting, there's two of them. Okay. The more famous one that actually looks like somebody had some talent is called the Mural de la Hermandad. Yeah, not Hermandad. Hermandad, which was started in 2016 by Enrique Chiu, a Tijuana artist. Okay. It's gotten as far as it's gotten. It's probably not going to go any further. Now, he did that with supposed local funding, but there is notices in various articles about the amount of volunteers that came across the border to help him, which makes you understand, of course, they're leftists. They went down there to work on that. The second one, which is the more widely publicized interactive e-mural, where there are faces on the wall and you can scan it, it tells you their stories, was funded by a U.S. academic fellowship, the Mellon Foundation and UC Davis. It was dressed up as a Mexican border project, but in truth, it was bankrolled by the U.S. academic left with an overt ideological agenda because it's on the other side of the border. California media outlets routinely blur these projects together, presenting them as an authentic Mexican response. The authentic Mexican response, as you saw, is to cut holes in a wall and come through to the United States. That's the authentic response. This other shit is more leftist propaganda, more, once again, they are a more enlightened being down there. That way, when they come up and do bad things, we deserve it, all that DEI bullshit. So that's what you have for those two there. These are patterns of manipulation. They're both kind of stupid, but the fact is, I wouldn't have brought them up. And for you guys, if they hadn't had such traction amongst idiots. So now you see what we're talking about here. They are so desperate, they cannot even argue a factual argument. They have to manipulate situations like this. The fact that anybody uses U.S. veterans or U.S. veterans that are homeless or have psychological issues or whatever for their political gain, knowing that they're not going to do anything. Let's caveat that. Knowing they're not going to do a fucking thing for the U.S. veterans. And they're going to say, look how bad Trump is, when we weren't going to do anything because we ultimately despise U.S. veterans. We wanted more dead. We wanted more wounded. That's why we kept the war going as long as we did, to break the back of an entire generation, which they almost succeeded in doing. That's the real thing that pisses me off with this. But anyway, that's just me. So there's your two stories. Kind of fun. We can't be serious all the time. And so if somebody says something, just say you're tragically full of shit. Go back to where you're from, open an OnlyFans account, whatever it is you shitbags do when you're not harassing me at breakfast. All right. And that's about it for this. So you have a good weekend, and we'll be back at the business on Monday.